Let my people go. Hello everyone, welcome back. Passover is on its way here, and many families have traditions at Passover. Now this is not a live viewing and reaction to the Ten Commandments for my first time, because, no shock, I have seen it before. This is my story of when I saw the Ten Commandments for the first time when I was a kid, how I reacted to it back then, how I feel when I see it now, and how I feel about other movies about Moses and Exodus. When I was little, around 6 or 7, I saw my mom watching the movie on TV, but I was doing other things, so I only saw the quick clip of Pharaoh Ramesses saying, "Moses, Moses." Then I saw the Rugrats Passover special, which I also highly enjoyed, and then in 1998, the movie The Prince of Egypt was getting ready for release. When we saw the previews for this, my parents were instantly excited. In preparation, my dad verbally told us the story of Exodus in the Bible, and then my mom had my sister and me sit down and read a picture book with cassette tape on the story of Moses freeing the Hebrews. When we saw The Prince of Egypt in theaters, I was looking forward to it. And when it finished, all of us, including myself, highly enjoyed it. The brotherhood theme between Moses and Ramesses made me feel the sympathy between them. To see how Ramesses was influenced to be evil, and when Moses had to say goodbye to it. But I didn't find the movie perfect. Some of my friends at school used to think I didn't like the movie. That's not the case. I didn't find the movie perfect. It always seemed to me that something was missing from it. In 5th grade social studies class, we were learning about biblical history. When we got to the section about Moses freeing the Hebrews, the teacher showed us an abridged version of the Ten Commandments. It bothered me that some scenes were skipped, but I highly enjoyed what I saw, even more than the Prince of Egypt. I loved Charlton Heston's portrayal of Moses, and some kids made fun of the aged effects for the 1950s epic. The one man in the story that stood out to me was the stonecutter Joshua. He was a strong, brave stonecutter, and when he is first introduced in the picture, the scene of his lead woman Lilia, another Hebrew slave, saying, "Joshua, Joshua," always made me smile. Other kids were turning around at me during that part. On the day we finished the movie, I highly enjoyed it, but I wanted to see the missing scenes. Then Passover weekend arrived, and the ABC channel, as they do every year, was planning to air the Ten Commandments. We got ready by re-watching the Rugrats Passover special, then re-watching The Prince of Egypt. I remember preparing my younger sister to watch the Ten Commandments by telling her, in the Ten Commandments you actually get to see Ramesses' wife. And Aaron, rather than being mean and disrespectful until the end of the story, Aaron is helping Moses from the start. When the movie aired, even though the commercials brought it out to a 5-hour airing, I loved every moment of the picture. I loved seeing the scenes that I didn't see before, and I loved paying closer attention to the details. I love the way this movie shows Moses' feelings when he is a prince, and how that changes when he learns who he really is, and when he later learns what he must complete for God. The Prince of Egypt shows Moses doing many things on his own, while I love that the Ten Commandments reminds us that Moses indeed had a team family of close supporters who were with him and helping him all the way through. His wife helps him heavily, along with their child. Aaron and Miriam help him, and of course the stonecutter Joshua helps him. Moses uses him for many major tasks. And of course the other woman slave Lilia helps as well. Joshua might be my favorite part about the picture. He almost steals the show from Moses. And it made me say, so that's what was missing from the Prince of Egypt. Where was he? After some reading, I found that there actually is a man in the background of some shots of the Prince of Egypt who is supposed to be Joshua. Really, his role isn't there. A couple years ago, the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings released in theaters. It was a fun novelty to see that Christian Bale was the second actor to go from Batman to Moses, after Val Kilmer. Purely as a new interpretation, it was kind of interesting to see the new ideas behind the visions, the plagues, and the Red Sea parting. Audiences complained that God is a kid in this, but I felt that the kid was the image that God sends to Moses. The other criticisms were behind the casting of white actors as Egyptians, Israelis, and other Middle Easterns. But I call that criticism invalid. Nobody criticized the Ten Commandments or the Prince of Egypt for doing that. So don't criticize Exodus, Gods and Kings for doing that. Ridley Scott himself said that casting Christian Bale as Moses was the only way he could get funding for the budget. Big stars draw in big audiences. What I didn't like was that the staff was replaced with a sword. This meant that we could never see the staff be inserted into the river for the River of Blood scene. It was replaced with crocodiles eating the servants and draining their blood throughout the waters. Joshua is in this movie, but his role is rushed. Aaron's role is even more rushed. The female roles are either rushed or non-existent. Joel Edgerton is great as Ramesses. The story as a whole is very rushed in this picture. It's well made and well designed. I can't say if I liked it or disliked it. It's just somewhere in between for me, and I don't have much of a reason to revisit it. Before I discuss revisiting the Ten Commandments, in my teenage years I got into film history, so I naturally saw more Charlton Heston movies. Planet of the Apes, Ben-Hur, Touch of Evil, The Buccaneer, The Greatest Show on Earth, Tombstone. Wait a minute. Tombstone. Two Moses in one movie? Wow. Charlton Heston is a versatile actor, and the Ten Commandments is still my favorite of his. It seems that the movie is still generally viewed as higher than The Prince of Egypt. Many YouTube critics say that they favor The Prince of Egypt. I'm going to say that I prefer Cecil B. DeMille's epic masterpiece of heart, soul, and godliness from the 1950s. As for the 1950s visual effects, it's not a matter of comparing the effects to the CG animation in The Prince of Egypt, or even the modern CG in Exodus, Gods and Kings. It's about embracing how well they made the effects look back then, with the technology they had back then. The effects to turn a staff into a serpent, you have to appreciate it. You have to appreciate the look of the waves when the Red Sea splits. And I especially appreciate the effects when Moses receives the commandments. The look of the effects fits the narrative and the period. As for the 1920s silent film The Ten Commandments, also by Cecil B. DeMille, it's really nicely done for the 1920s. The Moses portion is only within the first hour, and the remainder of the 2-hour 16-minute picture shows a modern story about brothers. One chooses to follow God, and the other breaks the commandments, and trouble follows him. This movie has nice effects like when the commandments are written out on screen. And the story, the modern portion, is a good modern Christian telling. At least modern for the 1920s, when it was made. I know there are things about each movie that makes them special. There's definitely a good reason why we have both of these movies. Prince of Egypt has great musical numbers, and they show all the plagues. The Ten Commandments shows some of the plagues and mentions others, and it works perfectly. If you've seen the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, how do you think it compares to the Prince of Egypt? Feel free to continue the discussion in the comments section. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to me for more videos. Hit the bell if you want to be notified of uploads. I'm making more videos for you and bigger projects for you as we speak. Have a great week and a great life, and always love yourself for who you are. Godspeed. Anyone who does not live by the law shall die by the law. Again, Godspeed.